Nancy Pelosi doesn't live in Washington, D.C. itself, probably. Probably dropping them off in San Francisco on her doorstep might make more of a difference, or dropping them off at, Barack Obama's hometown or some other hometown of where rich people actually live.
That was Fox News' Rachel Campos-Duffy, who is not too pleased with Texas Governor Greg Abbott and his latest immigration policy of essentially taking asylum seekers and offering them voluntary bus rides to Washington, D.C. Now, Abbott is apparently not right-wing enough for them because these are voluntary bus rides, but he can't just kidnap people and force them to places they don't want to go. And I kind of love every part of this story, because here you have a governor who's flexing and trying to give this illusion of being this effective, tough guy on immigration. In reality, it doesn't go far enough for these rabid right-wingers who want to brutalize people who are seeking asylum in this country. And so we should get to a little more from Campos-Duffy, and then I'll tell you how Abbott is responding to it.
Looks like they're getting greeted, Will, by a bunch of NGOs who know they're going to arrive, and they're given packets. And if they're El Salvadoran, Honduran, Central American, they probably want that ride. They have a huge community of Central Americans who live in Washington, D.C. area. So I'm not sure I get this. I wanted the constitutional crisis that would take this to the Supreme Court so we could get some clarity on this, Will.
There's no doubt they want this ride. This is a voluntary bus ride. In order for one of those illegal immigrants to get on the bus to Washington, D.C., they have to volunteer to do so. We've learned that. And we've learned that in the context of asking, why doesn't Texas, why doesn't Governor Abbott, why doesn't any other state just simply deport them? If you're loading them up on buses and sending them to Washington, D.C., why don't you load them up on buses and send them back to Mexico?
Why don't you load them up on buses and send them right back to Mexico? It could be because he doesn't have the power to do that. But anyway, Cenk.
Yeah, it would be illegal. And in fact, the person who said that is Greg Abbott. When he was asked about it, he said it would be kidnapping. I literally can't do that. So that's why the buses have to be voluntary, which then makes them absurd. So Fox is not wrong for saying, well, this seems like you're giving them a free ride. Yeah, that's literally what Abbott is doing. That's why he's kind of clowning himself. And now he's got new locations that he's going to suggest.
Yes. No, I love it, because he's backed into a corner because he's trying to appeal to people who want him to do illegal things. And the number one thing that former Trump administration officials wanted him to do was to declare a state of emergency in response to immigrants coming to the border. And after doing so, use state troopers and the National Guard to basically brutalize these people and expel them from the country. Now, he wasn't willing to do that. I guess even Greg Abbott has some standards, but as a substitute to that strategy, he's decided to do this, and it's not working out well for him because the right wing isn't buying it. And to be quite clear, I mean, since it's voluntary, a lot of these asylum seekers are like, yeah, that's actually great. I would love this bus ride. I'd love to go to DC. I'm actually trying to get to the East Coast. And what I love is how Campos-Duffy in that clip was like, they're being greeted by NGOs that are trying to help them out. Like, aren't we supposed to be brutalizing them? I mean, they're fleeing violence and terrible conditions in their own countries. Like, shouldn't we add insult to injury and treat them poorly? Isn't that what we're all about here in the United States?
So Anna, you're so right. I've gotten immunized to their how vicious Fox News is and the right wing is. But look at what they're saying. They're like, why are we treating them like human beings? Why are we being decent to them? Shouldn't we brutalize them? And that's what she's upset about. It's unbelievable. They have no humanity and decency left at all.
Yeah, we should just be able to topple democratically elected leaders in these countries, destabilize these countries, and then after people flee those countries because the conditions there are so unbearable, we should brutalize them as they seek asylum here in the United States. Listen, we need to actually implement the policy of processing asylum seekers and deciding whether or not they have a case or a good enough reason to be admitted into the country. That is the system that we're supposed to be implementing, but we have a shortage of judges. To be fair, I think Biden has failed in having a policy set to deal with this adequately. And as a result, right-wingers are freaking out and they're making up stories about criminals like flooding into the country. And then you also have these political chest puffing contests with Greg Abbott claiming like he's the tough guy, when in reality, there isn't really much he can do. And what they're asking him to do, again, is illegal. So how is he responding to this? Well, in my opinion, more nonsense. Here's the latest clip of Abbott on Fox News.
As we're speaking right now, Sean, the 7th bus is en route from Texas to Washington, D.C. This busing process is going to continue.
Will you send every illegal immigrant that you find in the state of Texas to Washington, D.C.?
We're going to load them up and send them to Washington, D.C. If we run out of room there, Delaware looks like a great location.
I'm gonna send him to Delaware because that's where Biden's from. Like he's trying to make a point, right?
Yeah, so cute.
Okay, send him to, but you can't force them on the bus. Again, it's voluntary. So if you're offering rides to Delaware too, nice, I guess.